consider that the ecosystem currently is in a development stage in Brazil and also Latin America. But I mean, we see that breaking these existing barriers and applying these innovative technologies to these entities and be able, of course, to scale its products and services, I think are big challenges for the sport tech startups. But as I mentioned to you, big opportunity due to the size of the market.
You're listening to Sports Tech Feed, the global sports technology podcast.
Hello and welcome to Sports Tech Feed. I'm your host, Thomas Loams. Great to have you join us again this week. On today's show, we have Ricardo Mazzucca, CEO of ArenaHub, the largest innovation center for sport in Latin America. The hub seeks to develop sports media and entertainment industries, generating social and economic impact. Before ArenaHub, Ricardo worked for 20 years as the sports marketing director for TV Globo, a Brazilian media group that's the largest commercial TV network in LATAM and second largest in the world. He also served as a South American marketing manager for Umbro. ArenaHub is a global partner of Sports Tech World Series, so we're delighted to have Ricardo on the show to highlight the growth and potential of LATAM as a market for sports technology. If you'd like to stay up to date with STWS and our partners like ArenaHub, then subscribe to our weekly newsletter, sportstechworldseries.com/newsletter. There's articles around kind of everything in sports tech, so it's a good little digest, kind of snackable content that you can read through, and then we also include some deep dives if you want to go further onto particular topics. It's also where you will find updates about the podcast. So if you're not subscribed, I'd suggest you to do that. But if you listen on Spotify or other platforms, then feel free to sign up for the newsletter and we'll let you know when a new podcast is published and you can dive into that. Thanks again for joining us on Sports Tech Feed, the global sports technology podcast. Ricardo Mazzucca, CEO of ArenaHub. Welcome to Sports Tech Feed. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Thomas. My pleasure to be here with you.
So let's dive straight into it about ArenaHub. Can you tell us a little bit more about the space, the program, how it's structured, what your aims and activities are?
Yeah, sure. Well, ArenaHub is pretty new. I mean, we just launched it last year. We started operation physically in September 2020. And just to give it a brief description, it's like ArenaHub is an entrepreneurship, knowledge, and innovation center, right? That seeks to develop the sports, media, and entertainment industries to generate social and economic impact and connect the whole ecosystem of the industry, startups, sports entities, brands, investors, universities, research centers, athletes, students. I would say like our ultimate goals are creating, supporting, and accelerating initiatives, companies, technologies, and ideas that use sports to promote social transformation. We are a complete ecosystem with three main verticals, right? The sponsors companies that support initiatives and the industry development, the startups who are responsible for bringing technologies, ideas, and products and services, and the third part is the industry partners. I would say sports entities, clubs, leagues, federations, athletes, professionals, and they all form a powerful platform and field of test for the startups' products and services. And we complete this ecosystem and knowledge center, the contribution of universities, schools, courses, academia, acceleration programs, mentorships, and training, and also a mindset of social and of social impact in all of our activities. This is one huge thing for us. If we talk about the way we operate, go on. You want to?
I was going to say just a bit more about the space. I mean, where you are, just as a bit of a context for that, where you're located physically and kind of your focus areas.
Okay, yeah, we are located in Allianz Parque Stadium. It's a stadium of a soccer club in Sao Paulo, Palmeiras. We are located there. I mean, we are operating, as I mentioned before, since September. And of course, due to the pandemic, I mean, the space is, we are working with all the restrictions that are needed. But it's already working, and it's a place for connection. So startups are going there, companies are going there, sports entities are going there as well. When you mention about the themes we work, I mean, we have eight main theses that we work, like fan engagement, human performance, intelligent spaces and IoT, knowledge, business intelligence, esports, media and content, and social impact and sustainability. So these are the main themes we work, and we have startups from all these 8 different themes working and operating with our ecosystem. And our platform, we used to say that we are a platform, and we have the hardware that's our office located in the stadium, but we also have the software that's our platform that it's a massive business network, right? And this is a must in our purpose. I mean, really to connect that system and generate all possible collisions and businesses among the partners we have. We have acceleration programs that I mentioned to you, brand activation, lots of events, right? Lots of events, digital ones, and hopefully very soon some physical events for the whole community, training programs, strategic support for startups and organizations and entities. We really like to, as soon as we have a new entity, sports entity coming with us, we do a huge immersion with them, right? To understand all their challenges, understand all their problems. And through this, we connect with specific startups that might solve these specific issues and transform this entity with innovation and a lot of projects. So that's how we really operate at ArenaHub in Sao Paulo.
And who are some of the partners involved? Like who is it made up from? Obviously, you mentioned Palmeiras, the Sao Paulo Football Club. Who are some of the other partners involved in the program?
Okay, so I mean, good. Yeah, today, Thomas, we have more than 60 startups already part of our ecosystem, associates. As I mentioned, two startups that cover all these themes. And when we talk about sports entities, we have around 30 sports entities already with us. We have the Brazilian Olympic Committee, it's with us, Brazilian Volleyball Confederation, Basketball Confederation, just to name a few. We have Federação Paulista, which is the Federação Paulista of Football of the state of Sao Paulo. We have clubs together, giant football clubs with us. So it's not only focused on football, it's all focused in all different sports, not only professional, but also leisure sports, right? Amateur sports. So we really hug the whole ecosystem, and not only specific areas that I mentioned to you.
Well, I would assume most of our listeners wouldn't be well versed on the Latin American LATAM market when it comes to sports. Obviously, everyone knows that Latin America is football mad. Certainly, a lot of success and national pride for a lot of countries there. Obviously, Brazil chief amongst them. But what's the opportunity in LATAM for sports tech and innovation companies? Can you just kind of give us a bit more of an understanding of that market?
Yeah, I mean, it's when we compare Latin America with Europe and USA, of course, Latin America is way behind in terms of sport tech and sports innovation, right? Which one hand, that's the real fact. But on the other hand, it brings a lot of opportunities, a huge opportunity for the market to be developed, right? It's a huge market with around 600 million people, right? Many strong and worldwide known sports brands, modern sports arenas and venues, and a very innovative mindset on its population. As you know, I mean, Latin America, people are very passionate for sports and social media, right? And very open to new ideas, I think, which makes a proper environment for development and innovation in sports. But that for really happen, I think at a broader level, I think it's essential to have an industry ecosystem prepared for it, right? Focus on this long and challenging process. And it's essential to have and to change the mindset, turn to innovation. And I think this is one of the main objectives of ArenaHub, like to promote and develop the ecosystem and foster this transformation of the industry through innovation. And when we look at Brazil and Latin America, I mean, sports entities are starting to look at innovation as part of the strategic planning and not only as an isolated and opportunistic activity, right? They are now hiring CTOs and digital marketing professionals, which was not common and natural at sports entities and clubs until a few time ago. They are creating innovation departments. They are working with data management tools to know their fans, amplify the engagement, developing new streams of content and distribution, and so forth. I mean, so consider that the ecosystem currently is in a development stage in Brazil and also Latin America. But I mean, we see that breaking these existing barriers and applying these innovative technologies to these entities and be able, of course, to scale its products and services, I think are big challenges for the sport tech startups. But as I mentioned to you, big opportunity due to the size of the market, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the scale, your previous employer, Globo, who some people might have heard of, which is the largest broadcaster in Brazil, and I think the second largest in the world, and ABC network. As an individual broadcaster, obviously you look at something like NBC, Comcast, and you take all the little bits of that. It's probably bigger put together, but yeah, second biggest in the world, massive opportunity, and just huge, just in terms of scale, sports mad, and what they can do and what they can connect. So as you said, it's for an emerging market. It's certainly exciting to be a startup in that space because you can have a lot more impact than maybe in further advanced areas in other markets. So with sports, kind of the disruption of digital and technology in sports, what are some key areas that you see the biggest opportunity for? So drilling down into specific areas, you can either refer to those 8 areas that ArenaHub are focusing on, maybe just in general, but then also specifically within South America.
Yeah, okay. I would say like data management, fan engagement, and monetization, I think is a huge thing. I mean, many people know, I have like 30 million supporters. I have 15 million supporters. But I mean, if you don't know them, this number is not really valid. I mean, it doesn't really help. So I think in more and more sports entities and companies, they are in the process to really understand deeply their customers, right? Who they are, where they live, how do they buy on or follow their team, their aspirations, their relation with the brand, the customer journey and behavior. I mean, how did these people behave? So it's really important to know that. So you can offer better products. You can be much more assertive on your offer to these people, and of course engage them deeply, and as a consequence, increase your revenue from this relationship, right? So data management, fan engagement is a big area in Latin America, and many of the startups that are in our environment are working with this specific area. Another huge thing in Brazil, I think it's worldwide, is wellness, right? And anything related to make people healthier and practice more exercise. Like, I think this is another major area that is increasing, especially with new technologies, how artificial intelligence can help the devolution of this area. Another area I would say it's related to the previous company I worked at, Globo, is like media and content, right? One example is like remote production and distribution of content. That's one thing. Distribution like OTT and other platforms, like how to relate with the fan outside of the specific game. How do you provide content for this fan, and how to create a long-lasting relationship with them? So I think it's important. But as a big challenge is how to monetize these different platforms that really people are struggling in order to test in many ways, but really struggling so far to how to monetize and analyzing the risk of cannibalization with the traditional models. So I think we are in this process of discovering how this ecosystem is going to work. But I think it's a major area as well. Esports, I think, is another one that is growing worldwide and not differently in Latin America. Many brands, not only endemic ones, but traditional brands, are entering this area, in this field, because it's a way to really relate to different audience, to relate to younger target, and also to be part of their story, to be part of the storytelling that these people are following, right? 5G, I would say, it's another big hit that is coming pretty soon. And we are, as I mentioned to you, we are based at Allianz Parque, which is an arena that's really ready to do 5G tests. So it's, I think, something that's gonna really grow fast in the coming months. And it affects the fan engagement, the venue experience, the content production. I mean, it has impact on many different areas, right?
Yeah.
And another... Go on, sorry.
Well, I was going to say 5G is something that's, in and of itself, it's not a trend, if that makes sense. It's something that underpins so many other areas within sports technology and innovation, and that's why it's so exciting, because it opens the door to so many more things across the full gambit of sports tech. So some of the things that you listed previously, so obviously the fan engagement experience, like if you want to be able to do augmented reality or some of the activation in your stadium, you need the bandwidth to be able to do that. 5G helps with that. Remote production, it helps with being able to do that. The wellness side, if you have, say, some really cool stuff coming out with wellness and fitness and health, is tracking through mobile phones. So data capture and analysis from a mobile phone, smartphone video, but then the ability to be able to have that processed in the cloud, reduce the latency to near zero, and then it actually makes it much more engaging and useful, because coaches, athletes, and your average Joes and Josephines can use their phone to, to track through mobile phones. So data capture and analysis from a mobile phone, smartphone video, but then the ability to be able to have that processed in the cloud, reduce the latency to near zero, and then it actually makes it much more engaging and useful, because coaches, athletes, and your average Joes and Josephine's can use their phone to
as a training tool. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. And that's something that's certainly big in emerging markets. You see it in the India subcontinent, the amount of mobile phone users, and similar in Latin America. And then the ability to democratize access to this tech through faster internet speeds and more internet coverage is enormous, because it opens up a much bigger market that was only really restricted to people that had access to the best internet in certain areas, and you just open up. So you open up rural areas, urban areas. It really opens the door.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you said right. I mean, we have a great challenge, I can say, about Brazil regarding broadband. I mean, as soon as this is democratized, as you mentioned, and you have people have access of good internet connections nationwide and region-wide, I mean, the impact is going to be massive. I mean, we really have no different areas, right? Not only in sports, but in education as well. So, I mean, it's going to be really big. And with the broadband increase, it's going to be a really game changer for the whole market, not only sports, but also different areas as education, as medicine and health. I mean, it's going to be big.
Yeah, definitely. And something that's certainly important in those emerging markets is it's in our little bubble of sports tech, where it is, it's just, as you said, a game changer. There's no better way to put it. So what else is there? Something, I guess this is more of a kind of a business tip for people that are coming into Latin America, looking to expand into that market or looking to do business in that market, apart from obviously connecting with ArenaHub and leveraging your networks. I don't want to say necessarily cultural differences, because I don't want to pin it to that, but what's something just about doing business in that market that people from, say, the US, Europe, Australia wouldn't necessarily know?
I mean, I think it's like the cultural challenges naturally the same from anybody from Latin America going to Europe or to the US to make business, or to Australia. It's, and you have to take into account the cultural differences and how do people react and how do people relate. I think this is the main culture is important when going abroad to make either business or for just traveling and for leisure. So I think it's one part to be considered. I mean, you could go. I mean, bureaucracy might be something that is different from country to country. So you might find maybe Latin America countries more bureaucratic in terms of doing business with other compared to other ones. On the other hand, I mean, people are much more like informal in many cases, right? In some countries, people are much more informal, are related to culture. And I think it's really to understand the ecosystem and understand opportunities. I think there are many connections, a lot of people willing to invest in new technologies, people willing to invest not only sports, but in general. I think there is money for good projects. I think it's really to come with a good project that fits, that are fitted for the market, to have a clear understanding of where you're going and what you're proposing. But I think it's a market that is very open to ideas, as I mentioned before. So I would say it's a great part of the world to be looked at, because, as we mentioned before, Thomas, a huge market potential and still behind compared to other regions. So a lot of opportunities in many different areas. So I think it's a great time to go there and take a shot. I think it's.
And is there, I mean, what do you think has been holding it back to this point, that it is behind? Is it just a lack of investment? Is it I guess, a lack of need for innovation? It's kind of one of those things that, well, it's always just worked this well. That's why we haven't embraced technology and digital and data and all this stuff.
Well, I think a mix of things. I mean, I can talk a lot about Brazil in this sense. I mean, you don't have this. Of course, I'm generalizing here, right? There are many areas. If you take a look at fintechs, for instance, Brazil have great examples of fintechs. They are huge now, especially also in sport techs. I mean, we have some cases. We have, like in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken, we have already 14 unicorns. So, I mean, there's been a lot of investment and a lot of innovation in the market. But I would say if we go back in time, I mean, maybe the mindset was not prepared for this. Maybe we as a country didn't have this mindset of innovation. I think it's part of the way the country was developed and the way the country was based on. That was not prepared to innovation the whole time, was maybe more worried about commodities and how to fit in the worldwide economy. Not a lot of development in terms of professionals, innovation, not a lot of engineers looking at it. Maybe we're very dependent on foreign innovation. if we take a look at innovation in sports, I mean, that's a question you mentioned, why we are so behind the whole world. I mean, clubs, if we take about football clubs in Brazil, they were really worried about their only brands, the connection with the fans, but they were not worried about knowing their fans. Maybe the tickets were fun and the sponsorship was right, okay? They relied on the TV coverage, they rely on fans paying for the tickets, and that was enough for them, right? They didn't understand the importance of right, exactly, totally passionate.
Active audience that, you know, well, I'm a bank. I make money by opening my doors. Essentially, there wasn't competition. There wasn't, you know, I had my fans, and they were
exactly. It wasn't,
and they were passionate, and they'd live and die for the club, bleed for the club, and happy days.
Exactly, very passionate people in, and just that's enough. That's really good enough. I mean, they didn't understand and they didn't see the value of knowing this fan and understanding who is this fan in order to amplify the revenue streams from these clubs and from these sports entities. Of course, the world, the way the world is changing, with many possibilities of distribution of the content, many possibilities of contact with the fans in different areas, not only on the games, and of course, new streams of revenue. These clubs started to look at international models, to look at these international examples and international cases, and understand, well, okay, that's a whole new and big field of possible innovation that we can look for. A lot of opportunities to go for it, and they are starting to advance on this part. As I mentioned to you, to go like 5 years, I cannot name one club that had like an innovation professional on its board. That's really pretty new, and many clubs are paying attention to this at this time, as we already said today. But I mean, and now it's a one way without any possible return. I mean, they really have to move forward, because if they do not change, if they do not innovate, they're gonna stay on their way, and other sport entities gonna take their place, other entertainment areas gonna take their place. Also because they're competing with the time of the fan. Sport has the advantage of the passion the fan has with the brand. I think that's a big advantage sports has compared to any other form of entertainment. But it's still, I mean, if you do not provide a good product, a good service to your fan, they're gonna leave you and they're gonna look for something different to do it.
Yeah, and certainly the globalized nature of fandom, or even just connections, mean that it's so much easier to be a fan of a league in another country, a team in another country, other sports, all that stuff. Is that it's not just competing against the neighboring state or neighboring city, or even the crosstown rival. It's within sports. You're looking at a whole bunch of other groups that are potentially looking at your fans. And then I think more broadly, and I don't like to push that angle too much, because I think sports needs to band together as a industry to get better, and really see that they're competing against fans' attention as an entertainment product. So as you said, especially younger generations, it's video games, it's streaming, it's on-demand services, all that kind of stuff that really you are looking at how do you compete against that. So I think there was a comment that Christian Lau, the CTO of LAFC, said is our main competitors is the city of Los Angeles itself. It's not another soccer club. It's not a football club, the baseball, whatever it is. It's the city itself, because there's so much going on. And the interesting thing during the pandemic is the amount of live stuff you go to obviously shut down and decreased, but the amount of stuff that you had access to, it just went up exponentially. Like the amount of things that you could stream, you could tune into, you could connect with, is just gone through the roof. So that's also a positive though, because I certainly feel like it's easier to connect globally with people, as we're doing now, jumping on a Zoom and having a chat. So that's something that I would encourage any sports tech startups listening that want to look at Latin America as a market to reach out to Ricardo and ArenaHub and see how they could get involved. And for the same for sports entities that maybe have a interest in that market, then do the same.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, the way people are consuming media has changed a lot, and it's still changing. I mean, people do not stay like hard for you to stay 90 minutes watching a soccer game, just stand still there in front of your TV, the way you consume other screens and relate to them. So sports entities really have to adapt to this and to understand this behavior in order to be in contact with this person at the time they want to be in content, offering them what they want to be offered, and so increasing their engagement. So it's a great challenge. And as we mentioned, because of Latin America, it's very open to this kind of innovation. It's very open to social media. It's very open to understand what's going on. I think plenty of opportunities in that market for brands, companies, and startups, right?
Great. Well, we'll include the details of ArenaHub in some of the show notes. So if people want to reach out, they can definitely connect and connect with you. Thanks so much for your time, Ricardo. Before we go, I've just got one final question. What is your most favorite sporting moment of all time?
I think there are two of them.
Two. All right.
Two related to football. One, two related to soccer. One was the final of Taça Libertadores in 1999 when Palmeiras, my team, we won the championship. I was in that game. It was great. And the other one was together with my son when we watched the final of the Confederations Cup in Brazil 2013, and Brazil played against Spain, and it was a great moment. I was with my son there, and it was really nice. This family moment together, it was great.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, well, that's so great. We'll try and include some footage of both of those if people want to look it up. But thank you so much for your time, Ricardo. It's great to really live up to what we're trying to do with being the global sports technology podcast and talk to people from around the world. And also great to have ArenaHub as a partner of Sports Tech World Series and us as a partner for you and helping you grow ArenaHub and what you're trying to achieve in Latin America.
Thank you very much, Thomas. It's my pleasure. And yes, you can count on us at the time you need it. Thanks a lot.
There you have it. That was Ricardo Mazzucca from ArenaHub. Really interesting what they're doing down in LATAM. Something we pride ourselves at Sports Tech World Series is being truly global in our approach and our mentality to the sports technology industry. And great to have partners like Ricardo and the rest of the team at ArenaHub that help extend that and also help us kind of support where we can what they're trying to achieve. I'll include a link to ArenaHub on the show notes. So if you want to click through there and read up more on what they're doing. As I said, enormous market, enormous potential. Just the religion that is sports in Latin America is very, very plain to see. And it's great that there's people kind of pushing together that tech layer over the top of it to help drive it forwards. As always, I've been your host, Thomas Loams. Great to have you joining us, and we will see you again next time on Sports Tech Feed.